Good evening. We've been chit-chatting away here, Therese and I. Good evening. Welcome to Coach World TV. My name is Terry Yoffe, and tonight as my guest I have a very special lady. We spent the last hour and a half just talking about backgrounds, and it's Therese Kienast. Did I say that correctly?
You did say it
Oh,
correctly.
wow.
Thank you.
I'm
Good job.
impressed.
Yeah.
Thank you. So Therese, excuse me, is an MCC, which is a Master Certified Coach with the International Coach Federation. And she is the past president of the International Coaching Society, and she founded Radical Leadership. She has trained coaches worldwide for CTI, which is Coaches Training Institute, and she has designed, delivered coaching courses in Fortune 100 companies and has been an ongoing leader in developing the coaching community around the world. And she has much more.
Thanks, Terry.
So,
I'm delighted to be
yeah,
here.
same here. So tell us a little bit about Radical Leadership.
Okay, well, Radical Leadership was actually created for coaches originally. I was training coaches around the world for the Coaches Training Institute, and I saw that coaches they were either wildly successful or most coaches had 3 to 5 clients, and those clients rotated, so they couldn't really make a viable living out of coaching. And so I started to ask myself, well, what's the gap between those coaches who are wildly successful and those who have 3 to 5 clients? So I looked at that piece. I also looked at leadership programs I was taking and looking at what I was hungry for, what was missing that I really wanted, and I designed Radical Leadership and piloted that, and here we are 8 years later with a lot of transformed lives. So
I'm sure. So can you tell us a little bit, just following up on what you just said, um, about the difference of those coaches that are wildly successful and those that struggle to find clients? Where's the gap?
well, I don't know that that's an easy thing to state
I'm sure not.
on one level, but there are some obvious things if you watch for a period of time. And those coaches who are really successful have and it's not a surprise, they have a sense of confidence. They know what they're up to. They know what kind of results they can deliver to their clients. They're very bold about sharing what they want for people and asking people to hire them. But mostly they are just a sheer stand for what's possible in people's lives for coaching with no apology whatsoever. And so it was really a matter of personal power, like how they were showing up in the world. So most coaches, as I watched them, I was not surprised that they weren't getting clients, because if their clients are coming from out and about in social settings, which most of them are going to come from people you meet in various places, right? They were not showing up powerfully. They were not being confident in what they were speaking to. They were not clear about what they wanted, and as a result of that, I think it makes it difficult for people to be a yes.
So they weren't showing the value to a potential client in a sense of what coaching could do for them.
Well, I do think that is a piece of it. I think, I love that we don't have to do coaching, and I know this is true about you, that we can just be coaches, and that it becomes a natural way to be in the world. In which case we're asking people powerful questions, we're giving our attention to them, we're making them the center focus of what we're doing, and then we're asking curious questions that help them discover things that they wouldn't discover otherwise. And I think an aha conversation that involves that has them intrigued. And not just that, but also that sense of they're being the center of attention. They're being seen and heard and appreciated, and they can feel that, and they want more of that.
And very important.
Yeah.
Very important. We all kind of clamor for being seen and heard. And in this world, very few people get to be seen and heard.
Oh my gosh, I think people are so hungry for that, and that they can feel it, and that's just a matter of being. We use that word, be present. You coaches, you hear that all the time, or we share that with our clients. Just be present. Well, really, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And it really means just being with them,
Mm.
and not needing to go anywhere,
Mhm.
and being curious and
Right.
listening. So.
Yeah. And just to follow up on that, so many of us, most of our lives are never present. When we've got the voices, as we talked about at dinner,
Yes.
when you're sitting and having a conversation with somebody and you've got these voices going, whatever they're saying, you're never present with somebody.
Yes.
You're always in your head, if you will. I mean,
Yes.
you may think you are.
Well, I think, to speak to what you're sharing, my experience is, and you'd have to check this for yourself, but I really experience that much of the time I'm in my thoughts about being in life instead of in life. And I have found that to
Good way
be
to say it.
very true about my clients as well. And that's really the difference. We're thinking about it instead of being in it. And that, thinking about it is not the same as being in it. But when we are here and when we do show up, life is much more exciting. It's more engaging. It's more enrolling. People are more fascinating. The things around us become brighter. I mean, what's your experience of that when you get out of your head and get here?
I try very hard not to be in my head a lot. I mean, it does happen. But you're right. I think that when especially when we're coaching, and I coach by phone.
Me too.
So it's great in a sense because I'm hearing the essence of someone. I'm not looking at them. I don't see what they look like, and there's much more of an ability to really allow other parts to show up, like the intuitive part. So you can really listen to what's being said or what's not being said, as we say in the coaching world.
Right.
And even when we're with people, I find that if I'm really listening, all of a sudden some great creative thought pops into my head.
Yeah.
Where it wouldn't if I'm off, thinking about, oh, gee, I got to get my nails done today, or
Well,
I got to go to the grocery store.
Right. Well,
Something like that.
and there's an assumption that it actually becomes intuitive for us to be able to read things or to be able to highlight or intuit things. But the truth of the matter is, when we're present to someone else, we are receiving a whole different level of impact and feedback.
Right.
And we're experiencing them in a whole different way. So it's a dynamic
Yes.
between the client and us that becomes a personal connection and really a sacred moment. I mean, I think that's what we do.
A lot can transpire
Yeah.
in that moment.
Yeah.
When and certainly as coaches, our responsibility is to be with our clients so we can help guide them and help them to get to where they want to go.
Yeah. And that is what we're here to
Yeah.
do. You had asked about radical leadership. Well, what's radical about radical leadership? I mean, why even radical leader? Why radical? Well, actually, very few people know that word actually means a return to fundamental, foundational, original, basic principles. So for me, it felt, and of course it means extreme and drastic. So for me, it felt a lot like a paradox or an oxymoron, where it's about our returning to our core, to our natural state, to who we are when that voice is not having its way. And that I believe that is extreme and drastic nowadays to do that. Because when we do that, we have access to a whole different world than the one we have in our heads.
Yes, and I said that slowly. Yes.
Were you in your head?
No, not at all. I wasn't.
It'd be
I
easy to
kinda
do in front of a
lost
camera, wouldn't it? Yeah.
No, I'm actually not.
Yeah.
I was concurring with you actually,
Yeah.
and thinking that when we're in our heads, it's usually made up stories. They're made up stories, they're beliefs, they're interpretations. There's not a lot
Yes.
of reality.
Oh my
You know,
gosh.
it's the reality we have taken to mean reality, but it's not reality.
Yeah, no,
So,
because if you've probably noticed this about your clients, but when I'm talking to my clients, I mean, basically, if I can hear the noise in their head and then I match it with my own, it's the same dialogue going on in
right,
everybody's head.
right.
It's the same thing. I'm not enough. I'm not
Yeah,
worthy. I'm not good
right.
enough. I'm not lovable, and I need to survive. I mean, those
Yeah.
are really some of the foundationals.
Actually, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Across the board, when it
yeah.
comes down to it, and you really peel the onion away, that's what it comes down to. And my hunch is they base their lives on those beliefs and how they live their lives. If they're not good enough, if they're not worthwhile enough, then they will live their lives proving that that's accurate.
Oh my gosh. Well, if
You know.
I just look at my own life and the times I believe those. And,
Mm,
I have times like that
yeah.
too, where
We all do.
that is running my life
Mm,
instead of trusting myself and doing what I love and being in this moment and having this moment be enough. Um, really, uh, how could it's nothing but a novel. It's nothing but
yeah.
a fictitious romantic novel, or most of the time
Mm-hmm.
it's not even romantic because,
No.
when we make stuff up, we make up lousy stuff. Do you ever notice that? We don't make
Mm-hmm.
up good stuff.
Yeah,
And
that's
of
true.
course, if we did do that, it'd be called delusional.
That's true. I mean, with my clients, I always talk about their storyboards. They need to
Hmm.
change their storyboards.
Hmm. I like
You
that.
know, they've got to look at what's there and say, if you were in a movie, would you want to be playing the role of you?
Yeah.
No. Um,
I think that's a great idea, and it is true. What is your story? And if it's a lousy story, what I hear you saying is, if it's a lousy story, change it, because really, that's the
mm,
power of coaching. It's all about, the other thing I would say when I was training coaches is about awareness and responsibility.
mm,
And awareness just means we are turning up the magnifying glass on your life and looking at levels we've never looked
mm-hmm.
before.
That's great. I
And
love that.
and in that, well,
Mm-hmm.
of course, we do that and we can see things that we've never been able to see.
Mm,
And then responsibility really means response-able, meaning now I can see what I couldn't see before, and now I can choose what to do with it. So
mm-hmm.
all of coaching is about, in all of life really is about a choice. So if your story works for you and it's
Mm,
engaging and it's creating what you want, keep it. But then in coaching, it's like, and if it's not, throw the darn thing out and let's get a new one.
yeah.